Yo, what's going on guys? Evan Tanaka here, back with another video. In today's video, we are ranking the top 20 to 30 maybe small forwards in a tier list. S being the best, D being the worst. Let me know in the comment section down below what you would change about my tier list when I finish it, so make sure to stick around to see my full tier list, and then maybe even give me guys a rating. Give me a rating out of 10 down below. Do you think it was an 8 out of 10 rating? Do you think I had a 5 out of 10 list? Did I have a 10 out of 10 list? Did you agree with everything? Let me know in the comment section down below. We'll talk about that down below, but make sure to put down below what you guys thought about my tier list. If you guys are new here, we are on the road to 700 subscribers by the end of the year. I'd really appreciate if you could subscribe down below. I post 2 to 3 Myteam videos every single day and give some of the best No Man's Bank content, tips, and tricks on the platform. Without further ado, let's get into the small forward tier list. First player we have on this tier list is Allen Houston, and I think he's a pretty good card. I think I'm gonna have him in A tier. I think he's really good, to be honest. Andre Iguodala, again, he's a good defender. He can finish the ball a little bit, but I don't think he's that good, so I'm gonna have him in C tier. And guys, C tier is like mid, so C tier is usable, but I wouldn't use him in my opinion. But like, they're still usable. D, just don't use. If a card is in D, do not use them. If they're C or up, you can use them, but I'd recommend only using B and up cards, unless they're like a budget Ruby card. You'll see in the future. But I think I'm gonna have Bernard King as our first S tier player. I think at the small forward position, I think this card is very, very good. He's like a 6'8", 6'9" small forward who's a really good athletic finisher, and he can score the ball very well. Bruce Bowen, I think he's B tier. I think he's a very solid lockdown defender. I recommend him in a lot of my budget teams. To people who are asking, you know, what position should I use for small forward? I always recommend Bruce Bowen. He's a great lockdown defender. Carmelo Anthony was a level 40 pink diamond from season 1. I think he has to be an S tier as well. At the power forward position, I feel like he's a little bit better, but small forward, he's still an S tier top small forward in the game. Butler, I think he's kind of mid. He could be C, he could be B. I think I'm gonna have him in C though. He's definitely very good. Chris Mullen for the small forward position, I think is in B tier. For the shooting guard, he probably would be like an A tier player, but I think for small forward, he's still 6'7". He's still a pretty good defender, but I feel like he's a lot better at that shooting guard position. So I think for the small forward list, which is pretty stacked, by the way, I think I'm going to have Chris Mullen at the B tier. Let me know in the comment section down below, would you guys have him at A? Would you have him at B? Let me know where you'd have Chris Mullen. I think Danny Granger, I think he's at one level above at the small forward position, and I think he's going to be an A tier. I think Danny Granger, he's still a great scorer on offense. His defense is okay, but I feel like he's going to get you a bucket, and he can shoot from really deep. Darius Miles, I think I'm going to have him in C tier for small forward. For power forward, he's probably a bit higher, but I think for small forward, I think he's in the C tier. And like I said, C is very usable, and he is one of those budget Ruby cards that I'd recommend for a lot of budget teams. But on this list, with all the stat cards in the game, I think he's going to have to be in that C tier list. Elgin Baylor, again, I think is a better shooting guard, so I'm going to have him in C tier. I think he's still pretty good at small forward, but he definitely is a lot better at that shooting guard position. George Gerving, I think, is pretty much just like Elgin Baylor. He has a little bit more finishing and driving aspect to him, while Elgin's a little bit better shooter, but I think they're both decent and both usable in the game. Jared Wallace is definitely an S tier small forward. Jared Wallace is one of the best cards in the game. He just came out. He is the collector award, if anybody's wondering, for earning about 1,250 cards, and you get him by collecting all those cards. And I think he's a very good S tier card. He's a great 3 and D small forward in the game. I think if I were to rank these top 3, I think it probably goes Melo, then Jared Wallace, and then probably Bernard King. The website's being really slow, so I'm not gonna rank them, but that's how I would do it. I have Melo, Jared Wallace, and Bernard King for right now. Next player on the list is Glenn Robinson, and I think he's probably an A tier, especially at the small forward position. I think he's pretty good. I think he's a little bit better at power forward, but Glenn Robinson is still a top tier card in this game. Glenn Rice, I do not like. I personally do not like the Amethyst Glenn Rice card at all. He has a lot of good cards in the past years, but I feel like for this year's 2K, his Amethyst card is not very good, so I think he's our first D tier player. Let me know, would you guys have him in D tier, or would you have him in C tier, or what tier would you have him in? But not Glenn Rice. Grant Hill, I think, is an A tier card as well. I think he's a great 3 and D card. He has been on a lot of people's God squads in the past couple weeks, and I feel like he's just starting to fizzle out of people's God squads, but I think he's still an A tier small forward. He's a great lockdown defender. You can put him on ball and he'll clamp up the other team's point guard. I think Diamond Gus Gerard is a little bit past his time, especially at the small forward position, so I'm going to put him at D tier as well. I feel like he used to be really good. I feel like there's just a lot more cards that are better than him. I would definitely use everyone in C at the small forward position over Gus Gerard right now. And I think Jimmy Butler's the same way as well. I think he's a lot better shooting guard, but I feel like for small forward, I just don't think I'd really run Jimmy Butler. They kind of didn't make his card very good. Jimmy Butler usually has really good cards. cards, but I feel like this year they just did not make that amethyst card very good. John Havlicek, though, I think is a very, very good small forward in this game, at least for a budget card. I then put him in C tier. I don't think he's on the B tier level, but he definitely is a C tier card. Kawhi Leonard is definitely on that B tier. I don't think he's as good as Grant Hill and Glenn Robinson and Danny Granger, but I do believe he is a B tier. He's kind of on the level of Bruce Bowen. Sorry, I think he's better than Bruce Bowen, but I think he's in this B tier spot. Kevin Durant, we all know what Kevin Durant is. We all know what Kevin Durant can do. Kevin Durant is definitely an S tier small forward. He probably still is the best card in the game, so he's obviously going to be an S tier. Don't really need to talk about Kevin Durant for too long. We all know what Kevin Durant can do. Chris Middleton, I think, is kind of just like Jimmy Butler. I just don't think he's very good. Don't really need to talk about D tier cards or S tier cards. Just want to talk about the cards in the middle, just to explain to you why I think they're there. So Landry Fields, I think, is on the same level as a Darius Miles. I think he's a very good 3&D Ruby budget card. So if you guys are looking for a great 3&D card, I would definitely look to pick up a Landry Fields or a John Havlicek. LeBron James, it is past his time, but I think he still is A tier. LeBron James gets some of the best animations in the game. We all know it's LeBron James. He gets the best chase down animations, he gets the best block animations, he gets the best steal animations, he gets the best finishing animations. He just gets every animation in the game. His stats and badges aren't the best, but I think he just plays above his stats and badges. So he, for me, is going to be in A tier. Now, if Diamond LeBron James is in A tier, that means I think Ruby LeBron James is in B tier. I really love that Ruby LeBron James card. I almost like him more than the Diamond, just because I feel like I'm using a budget card, so I'm like, oh, this card's really good. I'm in love with that Ruby budget card, LeBron. I use him on my second account. He starts for me. He's a great small forward. I think he's in B tier with the likes of Bruce Bowen and Kawhi Leonard. MLK, I think, is on the list as well. I think those are like 4 amazing locks, like Bruce Bowen, Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James, and MLK. I think they're all very good lockdown defenders who are more defensive-minded small forwards. OG Anunoby, I think, is in the A tier. I think he's kind of just like a Grant Hill. If I were to compare someone to Grant Hill, I think it'd be OG Anunoby. I think OG Anunoby has a little bit better offense, but I think Grant Hill is just a little bit better defender. So I'm definitely going to have OG in A tier. I think he's a great card, and I'm a Raptors fan, so I might be a little bit biased there. I usually hate Paul Pierce cards, so I'm just going to put him in D tier. I do not like the looks of this card. I definitely seen gameplays on him when he came out, and I definitely looked at him a bunch. They just did not make him very good. Peja Stojakovic is terrible as well. I just do not like Peja Stojakovic. RJ Barrett, I think he is on the likes of Landry Fields, Darius Miles, Elgin Baylor. I think he's just as good as those type of cards. I think he's a great budget card. So if you guys are looking in the C tier, I think the cards you should pick up are Darius Miles, John Havlicek, Landry Fields, and RJ Barrett. I think those are great solid cards to pick up, and they're very budget and should be in everyone's price range. TJ Warren, guys, is just terrible. I do not like the TJ Warren card. He was pretty good when he came out, but that's just because he was like one of the first diamond cards in the game that you could earn for free, so everyone liked using him, and so did myself, but I never really was in love with the cards. I'm gonna definitely have him in D tier. Tobias Harris is, I think, a lot better power forward. At small forward, though, I think I'm gonna have him in B tier. I know that could be controversial, but I think at power forward, I think he's better. I don't think he's that good at small forward. There's a lot better small forwards in the game that I'd run over Tobias Harris. I just don't think he makes that A tier spot. And the last card I think is Vince Carter, and I do believe he makes that S tier spot to round off our list and give us the 5 S tier cards that we are allowed to have. We're only allowed to have 5 cards in S tier. I think this list is pretty balanced, to be honest. We maybe could move somebody up to B tier, and I think we may move someone like John Havlicek. I really do like that John Havlicek card, and I think we are going to move him up. I think he's a really good offensive card, and I think he's a great 3&D player, and I love using John Havlicek. So let me know, guys, down below in the comment section. Let me know what you thought about my list. Give it a rating down below if you would like. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.